Hi everybody, it's Amanda. So what I wanted to start doing is reading more. So in order for me to read more, I figure it would be really awesome if we all read together more. So what I want to do is kind of share some of the things that I'm reading on, have a conversation about it, and then get your input on the things that I'm picking up. And then we'll kind of like do a virtual book club type meeting. And I don't want to read the same book every day because like literally ever since I was a little tiny kid, I would read 3 to 4 books at the same time because like I would get bored. Like I would read a fantasy novel. I would also read was it not fiction, real nonfiction, right? I would read nonfiction, and then I would read one other like informational book, like did you know such and such, and I'd read like I would just go back and forth in between these 3 different books because it was like three different types of storylines, so like they didn't mush together. I tried to read 2 fantasy books at the same time, and I was like, wait a minute, where did this character go? Like, wait, that was in this book, and that was very confusing. So I'm not going to do that anymore. But I think I pick up on information way better if I take it into like little bite-sized pieces all over the place versus just trying to like dive deep into one single subject. So today what I'm going to be talking about is, thinking on purpose. This is not like a sponsored video. I just picked up this book and I like it, so I wanted to share it with you guys. It's a 15-day plan to a smarter life, and it's the guy, Dr. Richard Bandler, is one of like the known people that talk about like neuro-linguistic programming. If you don't know what that is, so interesting. You got to look it up. It'll like kind of change your mindset a little bit. But anyways, so I want to talk about thinking on purpose. I haven't gone through like the whole book because I feel like there's so much information. This is going to probably take at least 2 weeks for us to go over it. So let's get started. So thinking on purpose, it starts off with talking about how people who succeed more than others are those who adapt to a new situation. So just talking about that, I immediately thought of the internet. So I meet a lot of people, like young and old, that are kind of pushing away from the internet. Younger people are more pushing away from like Facebook, and Instagram is now another one that like people are kind of like shying away from. Whereas older people, I realized, are literally just shunning the internet in its entirety. Like my mom still prints out MapQuest and like writes down directions versus using Google Maps, or like it's fine. It's like you used to do it back in the 90s and before, but like trying to use that same type of stuff today, just you're literally shooting yourself in the foot before you go for a marathon run. And people that refuse to adapt to new things, especially like such big things. I'm using the internet as an example. Like they're literally setting themselves up for failure, and they're gonna fall behind. Like I can't tell you, like think of people that did Bitcoin, right? Like Bitcoin back in the 90s. Like I remember my algebra teacher in 6th grade talking about Bitcoin and what was the other one? Amazon. She was like, that's all I need. Like we literally would flip through the newspaper and we'd have to do stocks, and like, okay, what happened today? All right, that was an increase of this much. And then you have to go and like calculate out how much money that was if you had X amount of money or X amount of dollars invested into that stock. She's like, all I need is Bitcoin and Amazon. And, it's kind of a gamble right now, but I think it's going to go places. This is before 9/11. And, what is it, like 20 years later, I'm just like, oh man, like I keep thinking back to her. I'm like, she's not going to be a teacher anymore. Like she's rich. But it's really cool of like how she was able to use her knowledge of like math and try to like help and share that with other people. Obviously we're 6th graders, no idea what we were talking about with stocks and bonds, right? But she was able to use her prior information, knowledge to set herself up for success in the future using like Bitcoin and Amazon. So yeah, like kudos to you. Awesome. But refusing to adapt to new technology or new situations literally in any aspect of life, is really not, it's like not acceptable anymore. Like I don't know how to change the oil on my car. It's like, well, you don't have an excuse to do that anymore. You can literally go to the internet and you will find thousands of videos of how to change oil for this model of car, you know? And it'll walk you through step by step. Like, I don't know how to make a YouTube video. There's gonna be thousands of YouTube videos on how to show you how to use YouTube videos. So as long as you can like just get into the right mindset that like you want knowledge, that you're like you crave knowledge. It's like my whole life I've just wanted to learn. I've loved learning. And just that mindset alone has like set me up for so many really cool successes and opportunities that like I never even knew was like a special thing until, you know, reading other books and stuff. Oh, I wanted to read a really cool quote from the book. Let's see. Oh, okay. So I have to tie this back to fitness because I'm a fitness person. But anyway, so this says, everything we eat, everything we breathe, everything we see, and everything we hear creates this organism capable of manifesting the future that will allow us to fill the universe with life. It's talking about your brain. Let me say it again. So in relation to your brain, everything we eat, everything we breathe, everything we see, and everything we hear creates this organism capable of manifesting the future that will allow us to fill the universe with life. Ruminate. Yes. All right. So I remember reading something, you know, it was on Instagram or whatever, that was really cool, saying that your diet, as you get older, you realize your diet is not just your food. Your diet is everything that you consume. So that's what you're reading, that's what you're watching, that's literally like eating, drinking, breathing. Like me and the two dogs and the littlest one are like shelled up in my room right now because it's so smoky outside and I don't want to breathe in smoke. But yeah, it's like everything that you consume, everything that you're exposed to is your diet. And, you know, whether it's a good diet or a bad diet, like if you're doing healthier choices, if you're working out, if you're reading, if you're meditating, if you're journaling, if you're, you know, I don't want to say like not watching garbage, but as long as you're not watching garbage, right? If you consume garbage, you are thinking garbage, right? It's usually, it's been these last few fight camps that I've been through where, you know, I go into these fight camps and I'm so healthy and I'm so focused. I'm eating really well and super clean. And then my kids are eating really well and super clean. And I realize that like my emotional mindset, like my hormones aren't like super out of whack. And I feel very level-headed and calm and in control. And then my kids are also very level-headed and calm and in control, like, you know, to an extent. They're kids, right? They're like still super crazy and bouncing off the walls. But I have way more energy. I sleep better. I like have tendencies to want to do different things. I'm like, you know what? I kind of want to go for a walk, like go on a nature walk. I want to read before I go to sleep, you know? And then outside of fight camp, you know, I'm just like, woo, I can go crazy. I'm going to have a cheeseburger or I'm going to have some brownies, right? Like just like little tiny decisions to make unhealthy decisions, such as, you know what, I'm going to have pizza tonight. Oh, you know what, I'll have a beer with my pizza. And then you're like, oh, I felt so terrible. I'm just going to sleep in. Oh man, I slept in. That means I'm going to miss my workout. Oh, I just don't feel good. Whatever. All right, I'm going to go to the fridge. You know what? I haven't had shredded wheat with all that sugar on it in months. I'm going to go ahead and have that shredded wheat. Like little tiny decisions. I know it doesn't sound like a lot, but like those tiny little decisions that you're making are setting yourself up for success or setting yourself up for failure. And I do this. I know I do this every single time. Like all of a sudden I'm like super emotional and crying. Like, what's wrong with me? And I'm like, oh, okay. Like look back in my journal. Okay. Week 2 after fight camp. Oh, okay. This is normal. This says I have to get back on my program and start eating healthier and eating vegetables again. Okay, all right. Flip back to the beginning of the journal. It happened again. Oh man, I'm really happy I kept this journal. I hate that I'm being like, my mind's all crazy. But okay, this is, at least I know a game plan of where to go. And then I do it. I eat more veggies. I get back on my program. I start working out more. I start getting a lot more confidence. And then you know, like literally the cycle just kind of like continues. So it's super interesting, like knowing it's gonna happen and then also like, and then doing it. But anyways, let's move on. So the next part of this book was talking about keys to adapting to new solutions. And first thing you need to do in order to adapt is solve your own problems. So a lot of times people come to me and they're like, I'm overweight, I'm unmotivated, like the things that we just talked about, right? I'm overweight, I'm unmotivated, like it's weighing on my relationship with my significant other. I'm, shorting out at my kids, like no one, like my friends, I just don't want to hang around my friends, like isolating myself. I'm starting to get depressed and anxious and I just don't know what's happening. I need to get this done. I just need to make sure I get a workout in. Can you help me? Right. And I remember being there where like I had no idea how to work out a workout into my schedule because it was just so jammed packed. Like my schedule, like I would wake up and, I'd go do my 8 hours of work and I'd get home and I'd be so tired from my 8 hours of work of just sitting at a computer and not actually knowing what I was doing because I was not, at the time I was a cyber analyst. I am not a cyber analyst. I am a personal trainer. Like I need to see things. I need to see like, okay, visually, this is a book, right? Like trying to be a cyber intelligence analyst. And it would be like, I remember thinking, I'm like, okay, the virus is in the computer, but where is it? Like, can you point to where in the computer it is? And we can just take that piece out and then just throw it away and put in a new piece, like that easy day. But if you know anything about computers, that's like really not how it works. And hopefully you're laughing at this. But yeah, like I did 2 years of cyber analysis and 8 hours of being told that you're not good at something and then going home and like trying to motivate yourself to do something. It was so like all of a sudden all these excuses came up like, oh, but that new show came out. Really wanted to watch the new Game of Thrones. Oh no, you know what? I just got a bottle of wine. I think I'm gonna relax. You know what? Oh man, I can't sleep. Okay, I gotta drink more and then watch more Game of Thrones. Like, blue light exposure and depressant are not good things to like align yourself to a better life. But that was, 2017. Yeah. So that was like at least 5 years ago. I don't know. Math's terrible. But I don't do that anymore because now I realize that my brain it needs to see physical things. Like this is a book. These are squats. This is correct form for a push-up. Like that is how my brain works. And then I also know how to motivate people way better. But there's this little triangle of feeling, doing, and thinking, right? So your emotions affect how you think. How you think it affects what you do, so like what your actions are, and then they all intertwine between the other ones, right? I think there's like a word for this, right? So your feelings, your thinking, and your actions. And the cool thing is like you can acknowledge that somewhere in this triangle, like you're negatively seeing, like you have negative thoughts, and so therefore you're not doing anything about it. But you have negative thoughts and you're not doing anything about it, so you feel depressed. And it's literally like a vicious cycle. Cool thing is you can hire professionals to like kind of stop that vicious cycle from happening. You can hire someone to help you with your emotions, such as like a therapist, or literally just talk to a friend. You can hire someone such as a personal trainer, to help with your actions. So like if all of a sudden, like you can still be depressed, You can still be thinking negative thoughts, but you can motivate yourself to action by getting, let's say a personal trainer to work out with you 3 times a week. You're like, oh man, well, at least I'm working out, whatever. Like going through the motions, doing your push-ups, doing your squats. All right, whatever. Like going through it, right? But the cool thing is you start seeing results because you're doing something. Your actions are now separate from that normal vicious cycle. All right. So your actions, they're like, oh, I need new pants. This affects your thinking. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can lose weight. Maybe I'm not as far gone as I thought. Maybe it's not just hereditary like my mom says it is. And so now your actions and your thinking is now affecting how you feel about yourself. So now you're feeling a little bit more confident. You're feeling like you have a little bit more control over your life, right? And now instead of that negative downward spiral that you're doing, you have a positive uphill spiral, right? So now because you're feeling better and you're thinking better thoughts, you're more motivated to go do those workouts. Like I've had people that have worked out with me. They've only started out with like 1 day a week. They're like, I really don't even know if this is going to work out. And then all of a sudden, like that spark lights and they're like, oh, this is so cool. Okay, let's do 2 days a week. And then, oh, okay, let's do 3 days a week. Do you think that 4 days a week of a workout is that too much for my body? Can I handle that? I'm like, yeah, you can handle that. And then all of a sudden, same person, I'm working out with them 3 days a week for strength training and 2 days a week for kickboxing and Muay Thai. It's like, I love seeing that spark happen of like, oh, this is what you're talking about. This is so cool. Oh my God, just like spit, but it's okay. It was really exciting. But yeah, there's like that little thinking triangle. So like, if you feel like you're unable to create action, try to attack those other 2 parts of the triangle. Try to change how you're feeling, try to change how you're thinking. If any of that is hard, hire an outside professional, like I said, personal trainer to help you with your action. You can hire a therapist to talk about like your feelings and how to like change your thinking and your mindset. And there's also life coaches out there, which will help with all 3 of these things. So yeah, moving on. Anyways, so the biggest key to being a person that can adapt versus like being dragged down, like being separated from society is like just become a learning machine. Like you need to be motivated by learning, not so much by like an end goal, right? So that's the cool thing about martial arts, that I'm pretty sure I'm going to do martial arts until I'm one of those like 97-year-old people like hunched over trying to like throw a jab cross, right? But the cool thing about martial arts is like you're always learning. Like I've been doing this for 8 years and I'm still learning different ways to throw a jab. I'm still learning different ways to, like settle into the guard or like mount or do sweeps and stuff. Like there's always going to be setbacks, but those setbacks actually end up catapulting you forward. Like once you realize like, okay, this is part of it, I'm going to go with the flow. That's when all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm learning so much. Your brain's just like a giant sponge absorbing everything. And it's super, super cool. But yeah, try to like learn something new every day, which is like why I wanted to start doing these videos, is like, I'm learning something new every day. I think it's super cool. Look at like, I'm super motivated by just learning something new and then being able to tell you guys about it. And then you guys can tell me in the comments what you guys think about this stuff. And like, look at that. You don't even have to read the book. Yay. It's a win-win. So last thing I wanted to talk about is Thinking on Purpose brought up Sigmund Freud. I can't remember like exactly time period. I want to say like, I was going to guess 1800s. I don't know. Don't quote me. But they were talking about how Sigmund Freud, like a studier of psychoanalysis, right? He came up with the idea that in order to help mental illness, which is what they called melancholia back then, in order to help people through mental illness, you had to talk about it. So that's how we have all of these different like ways to deal with mental illness and mental health by talking to people. Like you can talk to a therapist, you can talk to a friend, a family, like you talk to your dog, you know? Hey, speaking of dogs, stop chewing on that. Come here. My dog is chewing on Charlie Brown. No, this is not yours. Poor Charlie. But anyway, so yeah, Sigmund Freud is talking about how you should talk more in order to not only, tell somebody else and get a different viewpoint on your problems or like maybe things that are like bothering you, but also like you ever talk out loud about something and you're like, oh, why didn't I think of that? And then you realize you just like had a conversation with yourself out loud. And that's kind of, I guess, what I'm doing right now. Because anyways, but talking, according to Sigmund Freud, is very helpful in the mental illness like aspect of things. However, I've always kind of had like an issue with some things that they call like mental illness, right? Like there's like the DSM, I think that's what it's called. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about, right? The book of mental illnesses that, or like, yeah. Anyways, so I feel like things are being misconstrued. Like mental illness equals bad, you know? Like people are saying like, oh, well, you have a mental illness, you don't think like other people, therefore you need to be fixed. And if you talk through things, then you can be cured. It's getting outside of that whole like cure mindset of now it's like, okay, now we have individual learning plans. So we'll be a little bit more, what's the word? Like helpful for your learning disability. But we're still going to put you in a special class and you're going to know that you are not like other people. And I feel like I disagree with that. Like, I feel like having like ADD or ADHD or autism or like any of those other like, I want to say like prevalent, well-known, I don't know, like mental, I don't even know if I'll call it mental illness, like mental health disorder. I don't know if that's technically a term that you can call it, right? Like, I feel like that's incorrect to say that you're not normal. One, it's way more prevalent. And I feel like it's like when people say like, well, a minority genre of person is like Asian. But technically, there's more Asians in the world than, like, any other person. Like, because, like, Asia has a lot of people. Like, China and India are, like, the biggest, most populated countries in the entire world. Which is, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, it's like that whole, like, whitewashing of history and bullshit. Anyways. I don't know how I got into this thing. But anyways. Like, I've met people that, like, have ADD, and it's, like, a superpower. Like, no shit. I've seen somebody watching TV, watching another, like a fight on their phone, and studying. Like, actually absorbing the knowledge of studying all at the same time while having a conversation with me. And they go, oh, that was cool. I'm like, what was cool? Nothing happened. They're like, oh, well, like on the movie, like this part, like, how did you even see that? You were here. Like, it's like the coolest thing ever. Like, just because your brain works differently does not mean that it's a bad thing. It's like, I think of it as like X-Men, like normal people are jealous that you have a superpower, and so they're trying to make you feel bad about your superpower. Like, you have a superpower. Like, you have a superpower. Just because you think differently does not mean necessarily bad. Like, a lot of, I know a lot of, like, entrepreneurs have ADD and ADHD, and it's, like, literally a superpower because you can focus on so many different things and you have way more energy in order to do all of these things that you need to do. Sure, you may have a little bit more anxiety, but that's where mental health awareness comes along. So I digress. I thought it was kind of cool of like they brought up Sigmund Freud. Coming back full circle into our Thinking on Purpose book, it mentioned that like in order to stop thinking of, melancholia as a thing that you need to talk out, you need to think of it as moving to optimize how your individual brain works instead of trying to fix it. I'll read it again. Instead of using the idea that talking out your mental illness in order to make you better, we now need to move towards optimizing how our individual brains work instead of trying to fix it. Yeah. So like I said, I know for a fact I'm a visual person. This is Charlie Brown. I see him, I feel him. This is Charlie Brown, right? I'm very bad with abstracts. Like, you try to tell me that the virus is in the computer, I will go like this. I don't know what to do with that information. So knowing yourself first is going to definitely be like helpful. And like I said, I'm always going to tie this back to fitness. Like, your brain is super important, and being able to like understand who you are and what motivates you is going to help with like goal setting and, getting yourself into a healthier lifestyle, which includes fitness. This video is way longer than I thought it was going to be. It was like, I literally have a page, like, look at, I have one page of notes, and it took me 26 minutes to talk about, which is kind of cool. I didn't realize I had so much to say. Anyways, let me know in the comments. Let me and Charlie Brown know what your thoughts on Thinking on Purpose is. If you haven't gotten a book, you probably go and get it. Like I said, I'm not sponsored. I just really like the book, and it's so interesting. Like, all of the NLP books are like mind-blowing. Yeah, so I'm gonna end this one here. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on any of the stuff that I talked about, and then I'll get at you tomorrow with a different book. All right, bye guys.